first tip is to make sure your framing's 16 inches on center, even, and plumb. These 3 tips are really important before you begin any shower waterproofing. And with the boards we're going to be using, you can actually use wet shimming. So you can apply thin set over top of the studs. And because we're using Schluter Curdy board, that's an acceptable thing to do. I also like Curdy board because you can cut it down to size using a simple utility knife. And you just need to make sure your screws and washers are every 12 inches along your studs. That's really important to properly support the boards. The other thing that I like, besides the wet shimming, is the fact that the boards can be oriented in any way, shape, or form. And you can cut around your shower niche framing using a utility knife, which makes the installation nice and fast. And at the ceiling, you can make the boards flush with your drywall. Again, just make sure that your screws and washers are every 12 inches and that the boards remain plumb while you do this. You can dry fit a shower niche, I like prefab niches, and draw a line on the boards using a Sharpie marker. Hold the niche, and then you can cut around that either with an oscillating multi-tool or again, just a utility knife. But either way, it makes the prefab shower niche pretty easy to install. You just need to make sure, once again, that the screws and washers are at the corners and every 12 inches if your niche is a little bit bigger than the one I'm using here, which is a 16 inch by 20 inch. The other tip I have for you is up against the valve. You can press the board, make an indentation on the back, and draw the outline of the mixing valve seal around it and cut that out. It makes the installation quite easy around these delta valves. And you can do the same thing with your pipe that's coming out of the wall for your shower arm. Just cut out that hole using a utility knife, set the board in place and screw it in, and then double check the boards are plumb before you move on to the next step. You can mix up partial bags of thin set mortar, as I'm doing here, and I'm using a dust extractor to pull the dust out of the air while I mix that with my mixer. I highly recommend using a mixer like this one. You can apply the thin set in the corners using a 4-inch drywall knife. Then you need to trowel more thin set on it using a Curdy trowel or an 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch trowel. Here's a hot tip. Make sure your trowel is at a 45-degree angle. Really important to get the right trowel notches. Embed your banding into the corner and smooth that out. And here's another pro tip. Make sure you remove all of the thin set that is surrounding the banding because you don't want any buildup. I do all my vertical seams first. This is just a personal preference. And then I move on to do all my horizontal seams. So again, I do my horizontal seams after the vertical. Just makes a little bit more sense to me. And then I wipe everything down with a sponge. And around the niche, you want to do the exact same thing. So I do vertical, then horizontal, set the banding, and remove any of the excess thin set with a damp sponge. Then I move on to my seals. The first seal is around the pipe. This is a pipe seal, and what it does is seal the Curdy banding around the pipe so water doesn't penetrate into the wall. Pretty slick idea. And then the next thing is to use your mixing valve seal. You need to apply thin set around it, and the thicker side of the seal goes into the wall, and you just use your 2 knives to smooth everything out and then wipe it down using your sponge. So this is a pretty easy methodology, and in the end, your shower walls are going to be 100% waterproof. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments because I'm more than happy to help you out.